This is the vlog for November 4th. Looking at 11 4. November 4th, 2018. Um, I'm going to start this off a little strangely. One of the worst things about this situation is this sense of guilt I have, even though I don't have a lot of other things I can be doing. I don't feel like I should be enjoying the free time that I currently have because I'm only spending it writing, and I'm not even getting that much writing done at the moment. I've learned it's very difficult to force the writing process. It can be done, and it can actually result in fairly decent material, but it's smoother when it just sort of happens. At the same time, I'm very easily distracted when I don't have a lot of other pressing concerns, which was one of the reasons why it worked so well to do NaNoWriMo, to take an hour or two each day to get out 1,667 words. When I didn't have a specific level of quality that was necessary to keep it at, or any other requirement other than just put words to the page, that was fine. But now I'm trying to write something that I can sell, and every hour that I spend where I'm not writing, not creating something, I feel like I'm wasting my time and telling myself, why aren't you doing an 8-hour day of writing? You did an 8-hour day of work. And it doesn't quite work like that. I reference my own notes a whole lot. Sometimes I have to go in and fill in gaps where I didn't have notes before, just to keep track of stuff. This is a very sort of world building style of writing that I do. I don't know if that's actually going to work in its favor at the end of the day. I may end up finishing this up and finding that nobody's willing to pick this up. And that'd be rough. That'd be a real blow after everything else that's happened. But I do think that there's something worthwhile in the way I'm writing. And there's something worthwhile in the story I'm trying to tell. Although it also feels like a slightly, I don't know. I feel like the message in the original manuscript is stronger. But it takes a long time to get that message across. But I think if I'm careful, I'll be able to do something like what I did with the original manuscript. And at the same time I'm saying all of this really is just a way to deliver the story that I originally wrote in a more concise package. I only hope that if I find a publisher, I can convince them not to stop at my first book here and to let me get out a second and hopefully a third. I'd love to have 3 books out, if nothing else. And I think if I had all 3 and I was able to paint the picture that I wanted to through those 3 books, I would have a publisher at least that would want to keep these books coming, and I would hope that I would have an audience that would be anxious to see the continuing story of these characters and new characters as they're introduced. But we'll see. Like I said, I don't spend all day writing. I do try and write when I feel like I've got something. What I've spent most of the day doing has been watching an anime called Overlord. I think I may have mentioned it briefly in a previous vlog. Overlord is the story of a guy who falls asleep in his favorite MMORPG, VR MMORPG, on the last night of its existence as the servers get shut down. And when he wakes up, the VR interface is gone, and he is simply in the world of the game and tries to find his way in it. And what really works about this show is that it's more than just, oh, look at these, look at this human who's, abusing game mechanics to get what he wants in this game universe or having fun with it like that. It also does this remarkable thing where we consider all of the AI characters, the NPCs, non-player characters, in video games to be nothing more than data that you can do whatever you want, because every time you reset the game, it all comes back to normal. But one of the big things in Overlord is that the characters, the main character has been put into a world that exists outside of his influence as the player. And so things are happening, and I watched 2 or 3 episodes today about the lives of lizardmen. Lizardmen, which are not cute, they're not even mammalian, and are generally meant to seem alien, which makes them exceedingly good cannon fodder monsters for a 2nd level or 3rd level party in Dungeons and Dragons or some other RPG. They're not goblins. They're a step up from goblins, but they're still not as strong as ogres or vampires or whatever else you want to categorize as the higher step up on the food chain. They're a mid-level monster at best. And because they're not goblins, they're not instantly identifiable or easy to sort of understand the motivations of. And because they're not more powerful, they don't stand out in any particular form. Goblins stand out because everybody has to fight goblins as they start in most RPGs. So taking these lizardmen and making them exceedingly sympathetic and making the protagonist of the story seem like a blight was a very bold move and paints the whole story in a very interesting way, because now it's becoming less and less about how this human in a world of game elements is, making his way. It's now the repercussions of what he's been doing on that world that he has essentially invaded. I don't know that I'm going to incorporate a lot of ideas that I'm getting from this show into this book, but it definitely is good for just making the creative juices flow. You think about things, you think about outcomes, repercussions, you think about different ways things could have gone if you were writing it. You look at what the main character is doing, and in some cases you go, okay, that's very clever, and in other cases you're going, no, this is a terrible idea, why are you doing this? That level of engagement with material is so hard to generate. I'm a little bit jealous, and the people that made this show are definitely very smart and very good at what they're doing. It's based on a manga, I believe, which I'm starting to really think about going and finding, if I'm honest. I need to get caught up on Komi-san as well. They keep making issues of those, and they're available online. And I'm sure a little bit of Komi-san would definitely make me feel better. Anyway, I'm Eric Spornitz, and tomorrow will be better.